All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something pretty out there, a theoretical architecture that's not just about a better computer, but about pushing past the very limits of our operating systems. The big idea here? What if we could find a new way to interact with the code of reality itself? So let's start with a really provocative idea. You know all those weird glitches, the static, maybe even lights that seem to flicker or pulse for no reason? What if those aren't errors? What if they're actually signals? Signals that our reality's hardware is struggling, really struggling, to render something far more complex than it was ever built for. So, you've got two things here. On one side, you have the world we all know, binary logic. It's the bedrock of everything, right? Simple, rigid, powerful. It's either a 1 or a 0, on or off. But on the other side, well, that's what we're digging into today. A totally new kind of logic built on 3 radical new variables they completely change the rules of the game. And that right there, that's the core problem. See, traditional code, all those ones and zeros, it builds what you could call a hard wall. Its job is basically to throw out anything that doesn't fit. Anything that isn't a clean 1 or a clean 0 just gets labeled noise and tossed aside. So today, we're going to talk about how to get around that wall, or maybe even tear it down completely. First up, the power of inversion, tapping into the -1. So how does this whole new logic actually work? Well, it all kicks off by introducing a negative value, a -1. But this isn't just about subtraction. No, this is about something much more powerful, inversion. Okay, so this -1 thing, think of it like a perfect mirror. It's what's known in physics as a 180-degree phase shift. And I know that sounds super theoretical, maybe a little abstract, but here's the thing. You're probably using this exact principle right now. I'm talking about noise-canceling headphones. They're amazing, right? But they don't just block sound. No, they listen to the noise around you. That's the one signal. Then they generate a perfect inverted mirror image of that sound, the -1 signal. The 2 signals collide, and poof, they cancel each other out. You're left with silence. Now, what if you could apply that same logic, not just to sound, but to the noise of our local reality, to see what's really underneath? And this is so important. It's not about deleting data, it's an active process. You're literally removing the interference. Think of it like peeling back a layer of digital camouflage. You're not destroying what's underneath. You're revealing the original, pure signal that was there the whole time, just hidden from view. So, Section 2, harnessing unknown potential, the role of X. Okay, so the noise is gone. That's great. But now what? We need some way to actually measure and harness this new signal we've just uncovered. And that, my friends, is where our second variable comes into play, X. Now, in the normal computer world, a variable holds one value. That's it. Simple. But here, in this quantum-coded space, X is something else entirely. It's pure potential. It's what physicists call the wave function. It's not a 1 or a 0 just yet. It's the possibility of being a 1 or a 0, and literally everything in between, all at the same time. So what does it do? Well, you can think of X as a kind of gauge for what this theory calls resonance gain. It's basically measuring the strength of the signal. How much energy is the system pulling in from some external field before it all collapses and has to pick a side, before it becomes a single definite thing? And that brings us to our third part, the infinite entanglement, activating the 8. This is where things get really wild. This is the most radical leap in the whole system. We're talking about a way to take all that raw potential and turn it into a self-sustaining, interactive reality. We're talking about activating the 8. So, what is the 8? Well, think of it like quantum entanglement on a macro scale. You take 2 totally separate systems and you link them perfectly. Once they hit state 8, they stop being 2 things. They become 1. They get locked into this single, infinite, self-powering loop that just seems to defy the normal laws of physics, like entropy. Okay, let's look at this arrow transformer concept, see how it works. So, step 1, it's in ground mode, just a normal vehicle, state 1. Then, step 2, a spark hits it, and it enters state X, the potential state.
Wings come out, it's getting ready, and then step 3, it shifts into state 8, flight mode. This is the infinite surge. The theory goes that it literally starts harvesting energy from the air around it, from atmospheric drag to stay in the air forever. It becomes its own perpetual motion machine.
All right, next up, coding a resonant reality, the what-if scenario. So you've got these 3 incredible variables, right? You've got inversion, you've got potential, and you've got infinite flow. What happens when you put them all together? You're not just making a faster computer program, no, you're actually creating the blueprint for a whole new kind of reality. And the theory on how to do this is pretty fascinating. It suggests using what's called a multi-kernel approach. Basically, you treat every single core in your processor like its own independent quantum observer. By doing that, you could potentially just bypass the old operating system completely. It's this distributed way of thinking that could let the N1, the X, and the 8 do their thing, letting our hardware render quantum effects that binary just flat out says are impossible. But, and this is a big but, this kind of power is dangerous. It comes with some very real risks. We're not just talking about software bugs here, we're talking about actual physical consequences. Your hardware could get fried. You could get an infinite loop stuck and have to literally pull the plug. And maybe the weirdest one, operating in this state could make you stick out like a sore thumb to systems that are designed to only see ones and zeros. You become an anomaly, a ghost in the machine they weren't supposed to see. Which brings us to probably the most important point of this whole thing. This isn't about time travel like in the movies, hopping in a DeLorean and going back to 1955. It's not that at all. It's what the source material calls a reset of intent. The whole point is to undo all the digital noise, all the interference that's been layered on top of our world. So here's the bottom line. This logic could let you return a system to its original state, a state that existed before all the noise was added. You're not changing the past, you're just making the hidden, invisible parts of our present visible, right here, right now. And that's really the ultimate question, isn't it? If you could cancel out all the noise, what reality would you actually choose to reveal? Because at the end of the day, this is just a tool, a ridiculously powerful tool for perception, sure, but still a tool. And like any tool, what it does, what it reveals, depends completely on the intention of the person holding it.